Good morning. Today we are going to continue our study of adding and subtracting rational expressions. Yesterday we worked with problems that had like denominators. Today we will work with unlike denominators. As you can see, our first example is given to us with denominator 4x and 7. To begin, draw a long division bar. Figure out what numbers 4 and 7 will both divide into. 4 and 7 will go into 28, and we need the x. Now, on the top, we want to multiply each numerator by what we need to get the same denominator. So we're going to take our 3. We ask ourselves the question, 4x goes into 28x how many times? The answer is 7. So we will multiply the 3 times the 7. We have minus 1 for our second fraction. Ask yourself, how many times does 7 go into 28x? The answer is 4x. So we multiply our 1 times the 4x. Once we begin simplifying, we take the 3 times 7 gives us 21. 1 times 4x is 4x. We combine those and we have that over our denominator. We then look and see, can you factor the top of the fraction? It cannot be factored, therefore that will be our answer. Okay, let's move on to a little bit more difficult question. Let's start with 4 over x plus 3. And this time let's add 6x plus 5. So to begin with, the thing that we want to do is, again, let's draw a long fraction bar. Our common denominators are x plus 3 and x plus 5. They have nothing in common, so let's just group those separately. X plus 3, x plus 5. Now, what we have to do is be able to multiply our numerator and denominator by the same types. So for the first one, x plus 3 we already have. So what's missing is the x plus 5. So let's multiply our 4 times the x plus 5. For our second fraction, we have an x plus 5 in the denominator. What's missing is the x plus 3. So let's multiply the 6 times the x plus 3. Now, if we simplify, and I'm going to bring it over here, simplify the top. Distribute 4 times x, 4 times 5, 6 times x, 6 times 3. That remains over our common denominator. Gather your like terms. 4x plus 6x is 10x. 20 plus 18 is 38. Again, it stays over the common denominator. We then see, can we simplify or factor the numerator? If we can, we must factor it. The only thing that they have in common is a 2. So let's factor a 2. When we factor a 2 out, that leaves a 5x plus 19. Stays over this common denominator. They then look to see, is there anything on the top that's exactly the same on the bottom that we could simplify? In this situation, there is nothing that will divide out, so we circle our answer and we can move on to the next problem. Let's take a look at one more example. This time, let's start with 3x over x squared plus x minus 12. Let's subtract 6 over x plus 4. Okay, now, first thing we can see is that the first denominator is a trinomial. So let's factor that trinomial. If we factor that, we put down our 2 parentheses, put our x's, we have a plus and a minus. 4 and 3 multiplied to equal 12, subtract to equal 1. The 4 being the bigger number goes with the plus sign. The 3 goes in the other. So then what we're ready to do is find our common denominator. We can see that we need an x plus 4. You can see that we need an x minus 3. For the second parenthesis fraction, you already have the x plus 4, so we don't need to continue to add it to it. Now, working with the top, we have our 3x. Well, you can see that we have both of those in that denominator, so we don't have to multiply it by anything other than a 1. On the second one, we have an x plus 4 on the bottom. What would we have to multiply by to get the new denominator? Well, you can see the x minus 3 is what is missing. So therefore, now let's bring this down here. 3x times 1 is 3x. We can take our negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Distribute negative 6 times negative 3 turns that to a positive 18. That remains over the same denominator. We then gather our like terms. When we gather our like terms, you can see that we will have a negative 3x plus 18, and that is over the same denominator. Factor the top. We can factor out a negative 3. That will leave an x. When you factor a negative 3, it changes it back to a minus 6 over our denominator, x minus 3. Now, look and see, is anything able to cancel out? There is nothing the same, so therefore we would have our answer. Had there been something the same on top and bottom, we would have canceled those factors out. Okay, these are examples. Do the work today, submit that. I hope you all have a wonderful spring break and be safe. I will see you when we come back here in a week. Thank you. Bye.